Greetings everybody, and welcome to another edition of Jamie's Journeys. And today we are in what I would call an exotic location. We are just a little bit less than 900 nautical miles up the Amazon River, and the city is Manaus. Now, the history of Manaus dates back to 1669, and it was formerly started out as just an Indian village. And there was a fortress right behind me, which is now a floating dock, and that's the main place where cruise ships dock these days. And that floating dock was originally brought in from London and has been there a very, very long time. Anyway, since 1669, the city has grown up an awful lot, and we're going to take you around to show you a little bit of the sights. But first, we're going to visit the main attraction, and that is the river Amazonas. So we've hired a boat, and we've just come down a short way from the main cruise ship terminal. You can hire boats there, personal boats if you like, but we like to come a little bit down river to another location where the price is a bit better. So we've hired our boat, and we're going to go out on the river for about 4 hours, so come along. Thanks for joining me on another Jamie's Journeys. All right, yeah. All right, we've come about a half hour from the dock to what's called the Meeting of the Waters. It's where the Rio Negro comes together with the Amazon. So actually, the cruise ships dock on the Rio Negro. Now, the Meeting of the Waters, you can see, you've got brown on one side, the Amazon, the Rio Negro, darker brown or black on the right side. Now, from here, 4 days by boat, you reach Peru. Behind us, upriver, 7 days ahead, you reach Venezuela. Downriver here, 4 days, you reach the mouth of the river, or Belém. Now, the differences in the rivers is very interesting. Why are they so separated? The acidity of the Rio Negro is much greater than that of the Amazon, which makes the warmth of the Rio Negro much warmer than the Amazon. As a result of that, the speed of the Rio Negro is about 2 miles an hour slower than that of the Amazon. The Amazon has many, many fish. I have heard a fact that says there's more fish types, the species in the Amazon than there is in all of the Atlantic Ocean. The Rio Negro, on the other hand, due to the acidity, very, very few fish. And so this is why you come to the Meeting of the Waters, and also it makes for a great photo. All right, now we are back on the Amazon. How do we know it's the Amazon? Of course, the brown water, as opposed to the Rio Negro. You know, people say to me, well, the brown water of the Amazon, is it polluted? It's not polluted. In fact, it's very, very fresh. If you were to take the water from the Amazon, take the water from the Rio Negro, put them in a bottle. In just a few minutes, the water from the Amazon, the silt, which causes the brown water, will go to the bottom, and the top part will be beautiful water, crystal clear. Take the water from the Rio Negro, you put it in a bottle and let it sit several minutes. It's going to begin looking like iced tea colored or Coca-Cola colored. A few minutes later, it will still be that color. Anyway, we've stopped at the only restaurant at this part of town, if you want to call it town. Nice place if you want to get a tourist lunch, have a drink, or even use the facilities. And also, there's a nice area for shopping over here as well. Now, when you shop on the Amazon, the one thing we recommend is don't buy animal products, anything made from animals. There's natural products here, very, very nice indeed. Okay, maybe a little piranha fish might be good, but other than that, we would rather people not exploit the wildlife here in the Amazon, and this is a very nice place to shop. But it's time for us to get back in the boat and head on to our next site. As you can see behind me, we're going to go on an elevated walkway, and that's because we're at the beginning of the rainy season right now, and as they get more into it, obviously the water comes up in a great way. But we're going to take a little hike, and we're going to show you something that I think is really beautiful and special about the Amazon region. Time for a little nature walk. Up we go. We are back in a tributary, and this one is named Victoria Regia, and it's nice because it's so quiet and peaceful. You can hear and see lots of different species of birds. You see these giant lily pads, which I absolutely love, and on top of the lily pads you can see they come into bloom. They're not in bloom now, they kind of come and go, but you have these buds that when they bloom are very, very pretty. Also, we've seen an alligator, and if you look at this tree right across the way, you can see that about 15 feet up, the color of the tree changes from dark to light. And the reason for that is that during the rainy season, at the peak, that is about the height that the water rises in this part of the Amazon. beautiful canopy on this tree. This is called the Samauma, and you do see them all over, but one of these old, big, giant trees are fantastic. Not only are they beautiful, there's a history about them. Long time ago, the people, the indigenous people of this area used to communicate to one another by banging on these trees. They're hollow, and when you really bang on it, it emits a sound that can be heard, they say, for miles, and they had their own way of communicating just by banging on these trees. Just very, very pretty indeed. We thought we would go do a little piranha fishing, and there's a real technique to it. You put your pole in the water, the little meat on it. Usually the meat they use here is piranha meat. Piranha eat piranha. And then not in the tributaries today because the boat, we would need a boat with a long tiller to get into the real shallows. But the times we've gone back into the tributaries before, a couple whacks on the water and you had a piranha like that. Today, taking a little more patience. Come on, piranha. Should I put my toes in the water? All right. Oh, hey, hey, there we go. Not a bad size. Actually, they grow up to be a lot bigger than this one, but I don't think I'm going to take this off the hook. I think I'll let the expert do it. So there it is. Oh, piranha. They eat them fried, and it's more or less considered a poor man's food. There's a lot of other choices in the water. Goodbye. All right. Well, that was fun. All right, we've now left the Amazon River. We're back in the Rio Negro. And on our visit here, as I said, we're early in the rainy season. The water definitely goes way up as they get more into the season. But actually, the year we're visiting it too, they're starting the second year of what's been a major, major drought. So really, the water levels are way down, especially back in the tributaries, which is where I really like to visit, but it just wasn't possible today. The water was too shallow. But there's a couple other things that you can do here if you have the time to do so. You can go much further up river on this Rio Negro and visit an Indian village, which is quite interesting. You can also go to a place upriver where you can swim with the dolphins. We did see some of the pink dolphins, which are famous for this area, down at the meeting of the waters Also, there's some nice beaches here that you can go swimming at. And you might say, swimming? What about the piranha? Actually, the piranha won't bother you on this part of the Rio Negro where you can swim, even though this Rio Negro is where you really find the big piranha, but not in the areas of the beaches for swimming. Anyway, we're going to head back to town and take you around and show you a little bit of what the city has to offer. So, let's go. All right. Well, we've come just a short way up from the dock area. It's a lot quieter here outside of the beautiful Catholic church, the main church here in Manaus. As I had said originally, the town first developed in 1669 when a fort was built right off where the cruise ships now dock. Now that fort, what I didn't tell you, was built by the Portuguese who laid claim to this area. The reason they built that fort, which had 4 cannons, was to protect the early settlers as well as the indigenous Indian people from the Dutch. The Dutch were actually located in what is now known as Suriname, but they too wanted to lay claim to this area. So that was a way that the early beginnings of the city could be protected. And that fort remained in existence for about 114 years. But what really made Manaus start to grow was that in the year 1856, Manaus first was given its name and elevated to the status of a town. And the name was derived from Manaus, which is the name of the mother of all gods to the local indigenous people. Now it grew, but it didn't grow that fast until the late 1800s when, due to the rubber boom, this city started to grow. Colonization from Europe grew at an amazing pace because of the rubber boom. It became a decadent city with architects and planners coming from all over Europe. And what we're going to do now is walk a little bit up the road to show you the prime example of the decadence of its great era. All right, here it is. So beautiful. A symbol of Manaus's most decadent bygone era, and also a symbol of one of the most unlikely migrations in the world, Teatro Amazonas, or as us tourists call it, the Manaus Opera House. Simply stunning. Built at a cost of $10 million in its day, and publicly funded, I might add. This was the place. I tell you, the carriages used to take people, drop them off in their gowns and tuxedos, dressed for a special evening right here. The glass and crystal comes from Italy, the marble from Italy, the ceiling panels painted by a famous Italian painter. The tiles of the ceiling came from Paris and were in the color of the French flag. 198 chandeliers adorn the Opera House, 38 of which are made from Murano glass. This was the quintessential opera house in the world. No expense was spared by the barons of the rubber boom of the late 1900s. That is just such a great visit inside. We were able to shoot a little footage, but something you definitely have to do. This took 15 years to build and opened on January 7th, 1897. We're just going to go a short ways to a little monument here that's very significant. Just a short distance from the Opera House, as you can see, is this square. And I love this square because it has what's now become the traditional Brazilian cut and colored stones. It is really fantastic. You see it in Rio, Sao Paulo, other major cities of Brazil. But this monument behind me signifies where people came from during the boom era of Manaus. They came from Europe, from Asia, from Africa, from the Americas, just to be here during this decadent era that we call the rubber boom. They had companies, European opera companies that would perform at this house. Some of the finest musicians in the world. Probably the most famous company that performed here, opera company, was one that arrived and they performed, but when they left with only half of the people of the company. Half of them died from yellow fever. It was a place that had electric streetcars, a proper sewage drainage system, and also was one of the first cities in Brazil to have electricity. Now, not much architecture remains from this bygone era, but Manaus and the Amazon River cruise itself is a fantastic, wonderful journey to take. And now you've had the chance to see just a small bit of it. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me on another Jamie's Journey. Glad you came along, and I hope you come travel with me again.